welcome to Nationwide. We're live in Abuja. I'm Hauwa, Salihu Adama. Thank you so much for joining us. President Muhammadu Buhari has reaffirmed the commitment of his administration towards pursuing more diligently critical investment in people, especially the youth, most vulnerable and poorest members of the society. Consequently, the creative and innovative recommendations by participants of the senior Executive Course 42 of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies will be studied and explored for implementation as soon as possible. This was at the 2020 presidential interaction with the participants at the State House. Over now to Adam Sambo for details.
The National Institute, Nigeria's Center for Reflection, Research and Dialogue, is undoubtedly the nation's apex think tank on policy and strategy. For the year 2020, population growth and human capital development challenges and opportunities was the focus of participants of the Senior Executive Course 42. President Muhammadu Buhari, who received the report of the research findings, described as pleasing the recommendations and implementation strategies. Many of such recommendations, he promised, would be considered to further enhance human capital development in the country.
I am personally delighted to observe that the National Institute is meeting its mandate as the nation apex think tank. I congratulate you for your patriotic efforts. The contribution of the National Institute to human capital development at the strategic level over the years is worthy of commendation. Government will continue to support the Institute not only in the discharge of its mandate, but also in its avowed determination to become one of the top 3 think tanks in Africa before the year 2025.
And as a testimonial to his administration's commitment to human capital development, various programs, he said, have been put in place to equip Nigerians, particularly the youth, with requisite skills for employment, entrepreneurship, and wealth creation.
We have also recently introduced the 75 billion naira Nigerian Youth Investment Fund, of which 25 billion naira have been provided in 2021 budget. All of these are consistent with our policy of positioning the youth for strategic leadership in different fields of endeavor.
President Buhari, who takes pride in the progress made towards achieving food security in Nigeria, said tremendous efforts at reducing heavy dependence on the oil sector have also been intensified. Priority attention, he also said, will continue to be accorded to mining, entertainment, manufacturing, ICT, and labor-intensive industries towards generating millions of jobs for the teeming youth and able-bodied Nigerians. The Director General of the National Institute, Professor Hauwa Galadima, had expressed the conviction that many of the challenges facing Nigeria that are related to rapid population growth will be surmounted under President Buhari's watch by investments in human capital development.
We thank you for the enormous investments in the people of this country through highly commendable programs designed to take many Nigerians out of poverty. One can only imagine the magnitude of the outcomes if these investments were not made. We are grateful to God for providing this country with a strategic and purposeful leadership at this point of the nation's history.
The Institute, Professor Galadima explained, is aware of the expectations of government and will do everything within the limit of its capacity and resources to meet those expectations. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
The Senate has approved the procurement and administration of COVID-19 vaccine in Nigeria. The motion by the chairman, Senate Committee on Health, Senator Ibrahim Olori-Egbe, urged government to provide adequate funds for the procurement and administration of the vaccine. It also resolved that the Senate Committee on Health is to meet with the Ministers of Health, Finance, Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, the National Agency for Food, Drug Administration and Control, and other related organizations to discuss on detailed plans and modalities for its procurement and administration. Meanwhile, Senate has passed the Mental Health and Substance Abuse Bill 2020. And still staying with the legislature, the House of Representatives has passed for second reading a bill for an act to establish the Nigerian Army University in Biu, Borno State. Debate on general principles of the bill forwarded from the Senate elicited comments from lawmakers who noted the significance of the institution to the training of personnel serving in the armed forces who before now go for trainings outside the country. The House also passed a second reading a bill for an act to establish the National Institute for Police Studies. It seeks to make provisions for the administration and management of the institute by determining the standard and skills to be acquired in line with police reform efforts. Now to security, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, has delivered 24 truckloads of food items for onward distribution to the families of the Zabarmari farmers recently killed by Boko Haram insurgents in Borno State. This was while paying condolence visit to the state government and the people of Zabarmari. Ruth Agwele completes the report.
A familiar visit, but not a familiar incident. On a mission, not pleasant for those who be at the front. The ride to Zabarmari community in Jere local government area of Borno State was bumpy and quite a distance, with a large population whose main occupation is farming, a source of livelihood that led to the gruesome killings of some farmers on the farmland. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development is leading a delegation to the community to sympathize with them. In anticipation, the people await the condiments that accompany such visit, and to clear their doubt, 24 trucks load of food items as relief support will be distributed to affected families. For the ministry, the goal of ensuring lasting peace in the Northeast region is top priority.
So for those areas that are safe for people to return, the federal government and the Borno State government are working together. We have a Northeast Development Commission whose core mandate is to rebuild the Northeast region. And so this is something that is already put in place, and we hope that we'll be able to achieve that mandate collectively.
The minister was also at the government house where the governor expressed concern over humanitarian crises in the region.
The issue for our road networks in the entire Northeast sub-region is a matter of great concern to all of us. Once our roads are good enough, believe me sincerely, the security situation will be reduced by about 50%.
Mission accomplished as the people seek a light at the end of the tunnel. From Maiduguri, Ruth Agwele, NTA News.
And a report just in says the Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has described the call for President Buhari's resignation in headquarters as playing dirty politics with the nation's security. The minister stated this at a meeting with members of the Newspaper Proprietors Association of Nigeria in Lagos.
In the wake of the killing, there have been calls in supporters for Mr. President to resign. Well, let me say here that this call amounts to plain dirty politics with the issue of security. It is cheap and irresponsible. Mr. President was elected in 2015 for a 4-year term and re-elected in 2019 for another 4-year term. No amount of hysterical calls for resignation will prevent him from serving out his term.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed there on the state of the nation. Now, An appraisal of the peculiar needs of persons living with disabilities necessary for socio-economic inclusion. This was the view of guests on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria, who also advocated greater opportunities for persons living with disability to contribute to national development. Ekemini Williams has more.
Stigmatization, discrimination, exclusion and neglect of special needs are some of the harsh realities faced daily by people living with disability in Nigeria. Yet, they constitute about 15% of the population. While presidential assents to the Disability Bill and the establishment of the National Disabilities Commission are welcome initiatives, domestication across states is crucial to addressing the neglect and discrimination confronted by people with disabilities.
The governor of Plateau State, Barrister Simon Bakolalong, remain a pace setter in this issue. Our focus must go to the rural communities so that we can be able to build back better and stronger. Because without reaching out to the rural communities, everything will lie here. When you bring palliative, you share in Abuja, you bring other things, you share at the state capital. You finish with our executive people with disabilities. In the cities already, they do not have these challenges, do not have this problem. But when you go to the rural areas, our people, because of lack of wheelchair alone, somebody cannot go to school.
While some states are said to be disability friendly, a strategic work plan for 2021 is underway for greater inclusion.
How might we, technically put these things in place so that where the demand and the supply side meets and we can solve this thing together? From us as persons with disability, how much of this knowledge do we have to constructively engage the issues? So that when we show up, we're saying, thank you very much, sir, we like what you're doing, but these are the clear issues. Instead of just shouting, I've been discriminated, and everyone's getting confused. How? So for me, I think we need clear strategic work plan that addresses this issue in a very, very constructive way. So we get the technocrats together, who does the thing. We get the politicians together, who will bring the resources.
The 2020 International Day of Persons with Disabilities is being commemorated with the theme Building Back Better Towards a Disability-Inclusive, Accessible and Sustainable Post-COVID-19 World in Abuja. Ekemini Williams, NTA News.
Providing inclusion for people living with disabilities is indeed a necessity for building better societies. And with me in the studio to speak more on the theme for the year is Ikem Uchegbulam. And he is the Acting Director, Enforcement and Compliance at the National Commission for Persons with Disability. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us on Nationwide today.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Okay. Building back better towards an inclusive, accessible and sustainable post-COVID-19 world. That is the theme for this year.
Yes.
What are your expectations?
Yeah, well, my expectations are such that the first wave of the COVID-19, was around, and then government made some efforts at, providing support and at checkmating the scourge from the virus from, escalating more than it did. And persons with disabilities, government tried to create an environment that, made persons with disabilities a bit safe from the virus. But we are hoping that going further, and with the setting up of the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, then we can now have a more direct intervention in mainstreaming persons with disabilities in any other program that the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria would be rolling out, in order to curtail the effect of COVID-19.
Okay. As you probably heard in that excerpt of our program, Good Morning Nigeria, and the report that was rolled, and from what you've said, at least the platform has been presented to you already. But inclusion needs to get to the grassroots. What are the strategies in place to achieve this?
Now, we have an umbrella body association, the Joint National Association of Persons with Disabilities. It has a very wide reach. We have chapters, branches in all the local government areas of the federation, and then that is a primary point. Now we have a commission now with the headquarters in Abuja, and now the commission would work in collaboration with the chapters of the Joint National Association of Persons with Disabilities vis-a-vis the local government area councils and the state government to ensure that whatever we are doing gets to the grassroots. And you will agree with me that the local government sector is quite closer to the people than any other sphere of government. And working in that order, we are certainly going to get to the grassroots. And these days we are even beginning to form some form of, in a local government you have clusters, you have cluster groups that are nearer, closer to the people than the local government itself. And that is the sector we want to make use of in collecting the data of persons with disabilities in Nigeria.
Okay, this commission comes after years of advocacy, and I think everyone will agree that it's a source of joy to many. What should Nigerians do? What are your expectations of what Nigerians can do to make life better for this group of people?
Yeah, for me, I think that Nigerians should be aware of the provisions of the Act, because ignorance is a huge problem. Because if you have a law and it's not obeyed, and then enforcement becomes a difficult task. So when people are aware of the law and they do what they are expected by the law, then life will become more easier for persons with disabilities. Believe me, the law has made provisions for sanctions, and then if the whole country decides to disobey the law, and then you start meting out sanctions, start going to court, then it will become a bit cumbersome. It will become a bit cumbersome. But if people organizations do what they are supposed to do, and it takes away most of the challenges that is being expected that compliance may bring about.
I guess it's a collective effort now that we all have to put to making life better for all of us, not just people living with disability. Mr. Ikem Uchebulam, we truly appreciate your coming on Nationwide today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, sir. And a report just in says former chairman of the Pension Reform Tax Team, Abdurrashid Maina, has been extradited to Nigeria from Niamey, Niger Republic, by the Nigeria Police Force. Abdurrashid Maina was arrested on the 30th of November 2020 through the collaborative efforts of the operatives of the Nigeria Police Force, Interpol, NCB, Abuja, and the Nigerian counterparts. The team from Interpol Nigeria, led by the Commissioner of Police, Garba Umar, having completed the necessary documentations, flew the wanted former pension boss, Maina, into Nigeria at about 2 o'clock today.
Fugitive that is wanted by the EFCC, and Mr. Abdurrashid Abdullahi Maina is brought back to Nigeria, and we are acting under the instruction of the Inspector General of Police, whom the other law enforcement agencies applied to him.
The Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, applauded the transnational interagency collaborations that led to the successful arrest and extradition of the wanted fugitive, and assured that necessary legal action will follow immediately. And it's time to join Dotun in our Lagos Network Center for more on Nationwide. Hello, Dotun.
Thank you, Let's begin on the aviation front, where hundreds of passengers were left stranded earlier today at the General Aviation Terminal of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport due to the suspension of service by staff of Arik Airline. Michael Olaleye reports.
While the aviation industry is still finding its footing to continue flying amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, more challenges have started to emerge. Arik Air is at the eye of the storm, and passengers are at the receiving end.
Going to Abuja, I have some business appointments.
Obina Nwandu's journey to Owri was terminated before it started. His race for time to attend his father's funeral has been dealt a huge blow.
I don't even know when I'm going to Abuja now, whether I'm going to ever meet those appointments. It's really devastating for me. It's really devastating for me because I don't know how I can catch up with what I have lost.
His plight is similar to that of 100 others who continue to question if their rights as consumers is being tampered with or protected.
It's going to cost me time, money, wasted efforts, and no hope of even getting a refund.
There was no official of regulatory authority, NCAA, fan, and there was no IRIC official to talk to us as per global best practices or rules of engagement. Where the regulatory agency is assertive, where they are on ground, we will not have been having this kind of infraction.
On the other side of the street are the protesting workers armed with long list of demands. Adeniyi Arogundade is among the 20% workforce fortunate to retain their jobs.
I've been at home since March. They start to be giving me 9,600 naira since, let's say, September, October, November. Is that one I'm going to be on? They should sign our condition of service. They should sign our terminal benefit.
This unpleasant situation is invariably one of the casualties in the aviation industry caused by COVID-19 pandemic. But the path to recovery experts have continuously stressed will be determined by identifying the specific problems before government palliatives can make a difference. In Lagos, Michael Olaleye, NTA News.
Away from aviation now to security, where the Nigerian Navy is not relenting in its efforts to checkmating the nefarious activities of criminals and miscreants in the Gulf of Guinea, as it has established a forward operating base in Takwa Bay. Lane Leneke reports that the establishment of the base was a collaborative effort between the Nigerian Navy and the Nigerian Ports Authority.
Presenting the handing over of this 18-hectare land for use as forward operating base by the Nigerian Navy.
The formal handing over signifies a major turnaround for the Nigerian Navy and the Nigerian Ports Authority. This synergy will in no small measure increase surveillance on the Gulf of Guinea and protect the country's oil and gas sector. The expanse of land, approximately 18 hectares in size, will serve as a forward operating base for the Navy.
I have no doubt in my mind that this event will further demonstrate the enduring relationship between our dear organization, which will also impact positively on national security and development.
NTA should be rest assured that this piece of land will be properly be put into use for the purpose of which is being handed over to the Nigerian Navy.
Representative of the Managing Director, Nigerian Ports Authority, Hadiza Bala, was optimistic that the strong presence of the Navy will impact positively by ameliorating the threats experienced in Takwa Bay access, in addition to protecting the port's infrastructure in the maritime domain.
I believe the establishment of this forward operations base will go a long way to further strengthen the bond and relationship between us. We count on your support, not only on the waterfront, but also in the backyard, as it were.
It will be recalled that in January this year, residents of Takwa Bay were evicted by the Navy for illegal activities and oil theft. This necessitated the authorization of Operation Kurumbe by the Defense Headquarters. In Lagos, Lane Lenake, NTA News.
Now, as part of preparations for successful conduct of by-elections in Lagos, non-sensitive materials have been dispatched by the Independent National Electoral Commission ahead of the Lagos East Senatorial District and Koshofetu Constituency State House of Assembly by-elections. Amaka Owo reports that the Commission has put up the measure to ensure that the exercise is carried out in compliance with COVID-19 protocols.
The race to occupy the vacant positions at the national and state legislature came as a result of the demise of their occupants, Senator Bayo Oshinowo and Tunde Braimo. Candidates of 12 political parties will contest for the Lagos East senatorial seat, while 8 candidates will slug it out to represent the Koshofe 2 electorate at the State House of Assembly.
We are going to do a clean election, and we can assure you that the voice of the people will be heard. Their votes will be made to count, and whoever they decide to elect as their representative will be the one that will be determined. 5
local governments make up the Lagos East senatorial district, and these are Shomolu, Ikorodu, Koshefe, Egbe, and Ibeju Lekki. INEC also says that there are about 1,343,000 registered voters in these areas and 1,900 polling units. From the INEC office in Lagos, Amaka O, NTA News.
And that's it from here. Let's now take a break. Nationwide continues shortly.
A scorecard like no other. Government has put in place measures and initiatives principally targeted at youths, women, and the most vulnerable groups in our society. These included broad plan to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in the next 10 years. The creation of 75 billion naira national youth.
Moving on, in the renewed impetus to ensure transparency, efficiency and ease of doing business in Nigeria, the federal government has automated the processing of import duty exemption certificate. The Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, said this during a one-day sensitization seminar organized by the ministry in collaboration with the Nigeria Customs Service. Salihu has more.
The decision to automate the process was part of government's effort to eliminate human interface in the processing of duty waiver applications. The current process, which lacks transparency, involves lengthy bureaucratic processes that usually last between 60 to 180 days. The automation will therefore replace the manual process of application, processing of waivers, determination of eligibility of applicants, and validation of previously granted waivers. The sensitization seminar is to intimate the participants about the reform in the system.
On an annual basis, we received about 1,500 pages for import duty waivers.
The primary aim of waivers and IDEC in every economy is to provide incentives that will stimulate industrialization and economic growth.
Munir Abdullahi is one of the participants.
Something like this will actually go a long way in, giving more awareness and then also educating the importers.
Government has decided that the area of no man, I know you is gone. Let's go in on digital.
They are saying it will just be like 1 week affair, 5 to 7 working days, which is highly welcome and highly commendable.
Like Munir, other participants said the automation will promote trade efficiency, boost investors' confidence, and ease their way of doing business. In Kano, Salihu, NTA News.
And Obey is next in our Benin Network Center with more reports on Nationwide. It's over to you.
Very much, Hauwa, and welcome to Benin. The Federal Ministry of Works and Housing is urging communities in Edo State to take ownership of projects executed by the federal government instead of allowing them to rot away. It has also vowed to prosecute any contractor engaged in shoddy deals. Deputy Director Special Project Units Fashoranti Toyi stated this while inspecting federal government projects in some areas in Edo State. Goodluck Enaini reports.
Aside project inspection, the visitors engaged the communities, enlightening them to the need to take ownership of the projects, guard them jealously, and utilize them to the fullest. The Skills Acquisition Center built by the federal government at Ugbesan in Ikpoba-Oka local government area since 2017 was the first port of call.
There's so much for the community here. We have provided the structure and we have provided equipment.
Once a project is sited in their own area, it is bound on them to be using it.
The team then visited the Enoge of Ugbesan, His Royal Highness Professor Aduwa Ogegme, to find out why the project was not utilized.
Synergy between the communities, the benefiting communities, and the government officials to be able to work together so that the benefit to be derived from these projects are maximized.
At Igodola Primary School along Murtala Mohammed Way, Benin City, the inspection team inspected a block of 3 classrooms. The 9 kilometers Igwenwe Road off Sapomba was also visited.
Before the road is not good, but now the road is very nice.
The inspection was rounded off at the Federal Secretariat in Benin with the inspection of 40 solar street lights executed between 2018 and 2019. In Benin, Goodluck Enaini, NTA News.
The Police Community Relations Committee, Crowd and Traffic Control Team has come on stream in Edo State. Gochkuka Ona witnessed the inauguration of the personnel by the Commissioner of Police, Johnson Kukumo, at the command headquarters.
The urban traffic congestion problem in most cities in Nigeria, Benin inclusive, is critical. It has been a challenge to government and officers as different control systems and models are put in place. But the problem persists, leaving in its trail loss of man-hour and sometimes tempers are let loose. These traffic officers are being empowered and equipped with the basic skills to enrich the current community policing philosophy of the Inspector General of Police. They are guided by the Golden Rule, which mandates them to be clear, smart, and cheerful.
While others are losing their tempers, you should, of course, be able to manage your own tempers.
We are volunteer for life. It's not a thing we tire from.
Edo State is the first in southern Nigeria to commission these units in the DCRC formation nationwide. The purpose is to fulfill Article 59 of our Constitution.
The personnel are 30 in number, 20 men and 6 women, to man different locations in the city.
We are working with the police. When we apprehend offenders, we hand over to the police, who will send them to court.
The team expects the public to be cooperative. In Benin, Ogochkuka Ona, NTA News.
Over 9 cases have been concluded so far by the Edo State Judicial Panel of Inquiry for victims of SARS brutality and other related abuses. They are undergoing review for recommendations. Eugenia Ndubisi reports.
The panel chaired by Justice Ada Ihigiamusoi received a total of 140 petitions from victims of police brutality before the deadline for submission of petitions on the 27th of November 2020. The commencement of the review of some of the cases this Wednesday hindered public sitting. Chairman Media Committee Ralph Ohiria, who addressed newsmen, says the recommendations will be made public while the review will hold on a weekly basis.
There are many cases too that have reached advanced stages. So I'm sure weekly we'll resolve that. Every week we'll quickly look at the issues that we have concluded, review them, and make the appropriate recommendations.
The panel has 90 days to complete its assignment since the day it was set up on the 19th October this year in response to the yearnings of Nigerian youth as articulated in the demands of the NSAS protesters. In Benin, Eugenia Ndubisi, NTA News.
And that's it from Benin. Hauwa, it's over to you now for more on Nationwide.
Very well, Obey. Many thanks. Some failed portions of federal roads in Delta State have received a facelift in the ongoing rehabilitation work by the Federal Road Maintenance Agency, FEMA. Over down to Austin Edemodu.
It has been a busy time for workers of the Federal Road Maintenance Agency in Delta State as they lived up to their responsibilities in rehabilitating failed roads in the state. In the past few days, the agency has successfully passed potholes and carried out repair works on the failed section of Benin Asaba Carriageway and parts of the former Asaba Road.
I don't remember what for the road that I tried. Before this road, the cut accident well.
We need now this kind of road now we need so that this our express go feel develop.
The dilapidated Amukwe roundabout and Warri Circular Road have also received FEMA's attention.
On Benin, Warri Carriageway, and this road before now, it has been posing a lot of economic hardship to the masses. But right now that we are working on this road, now we are putting it so that people are able to move freely. So the travel time has reduced.
The rehabilitation work has also been extended to the Delta State capital with the construction of Coca Junction drainage system and Austin Edemodu, NTA News.
And to meet the development objectives and needs of countries, there is the need to put in place various mechanisms that will ensure efficient service delivery with overall improvement in the quality of life of the citizenry. Asabe Tanimu Williams reports that this is the focus of a two-day workshop on mainstreaming national capital accounting into Nigeria's national development plans, organized by the Environment for Development and the University of Nigeria, Nsukka.
Gathering brings experts and key environmental players in Nigeria on a quest for sustainable management of our natural resources and capital, which requires the adoption of a governance approach that accounts for the impacts of economic development on natural resources and environmental impact assessment to strengthen the nation's economy.
In the first place, this economy is based purely on natural resources. But the point we are making and the essence of these meetings that we've been holding is to ensure that these resources are properly accounted for and preserved.
Generally, globally, the system of environmental economic accounts is what many countries are practicing. And so that's what we want Nigeria also to key into.
To succeed in this, the Environment for Development thinks that this imperative evidence-based policy, development and decision-making is deployed for an integrated information gathering and high-quality statistics.
It is important, and when we are doing our budget and everything, how much is our resources worth? How much can we really get from it? And how much can we manage it to generate it more and produce more for us as a nation?
Academically speaking, the University of Nigeria suggests that there is need for strengthening national capacities of developing countries like Nigeria for sustained, regular production of priority sets of environmental statistics and the resulting indicators in order to measure progress towards conservation of natural resources for sustainable development. Asabe Tanimu Williams, NTA News.
The Executive Intelligence Management course is designed to provide strategic level security and requisite skills for officers and top-level management on how to contribute positively in the implementation of the national security policies and national development. Graduates of the course were commended for completing the course, but as they will be moving on, they are expected to use their knowledge to better the country. The host lecturer, Mohammed Ibn Chambers, spoke on how COVID-19 is affecting lives and livelihoods, urging the graduating officers to continue to maintain COVID-19 protocols.
It is also a period for deep thinking about how to put to maximum use the knowledge gained to best contribute to the advancement of this great country and of our sub-region.
Moving on, in view of the ongoing recruitment of terrorists in the northeast, The Nigerian army is upscaling the capacity of religious and community leaders to counter the negative narrative. The Chief of the Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tuku Buratai, represented by the Chief of Policy and Plans, Lieutenant General Lamidi Adeosun, said that these are the second edition of the Nigerian Army Spiritual Warfare Seminar in Abuja. The seminar is part of the Nigerian Army's non-kinetic efforts aimed at building the capacity of participants who are expected to further propagate the message that will counter the terrorist negative ideology.
Ideology is a system of concepts and views which serves to make sense of the world while obscuring the social interests that are expressed therein. This has remained the driving force for the terrorist groups. In the case of Boko Haram, its ideology classifying Western education as a sin, which hinders the pursuit and attainment of self-acclaimed Puritan Islam.
Victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win. So before you even walk to the battlefield, before you march to the battlefield, you should know that you have already won the war by your calculations, by your strategy, by your approach, by your psychological, economic, political, and spiritual warfare.
The first edition of the Nigerian Army's Spiritual Warfare held in 2019. The Labour Minister and stakeholders on electricity tariff is one of our top stories in Ibadan today, and Kemi is our guide. Good afternoon to you, Kemi.
Good afternoon, Hauwa, and welcome to Ibadan. Nigerians have been given assurance that an adaptable template of electricity tariff will be arrived at soon. Minister of State for Labour and Productivity, Festus Keyamo, stated these at a stakeholders meeting held in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. Rofia Animashan Badmus was there and now reports.
The federal government and Labour ad hoc committee on electricity tariff was set up to evaluate the rationale and the implementation of the electricity tariff price adjustment. The committee, chaired by Minister of State for Labour and Productivity, Festus Keyamo, met with stakeholders on pertinent issues revolving around the new tariff.
Yes, we are saying that service delivery will automatically mean price increase. No, we are not saying so at all. We are only saying that there should be an acceptable figure, that figure that is the equilibrium. The discos can be kept afloat to deliver services.
If the case is that we find any disco or disco representative selling these meters or exploiting Nigerians to be able to get meters by paying, we will take the full measures of the regulator against them and will charge them through the full extent of law.
If we finish work and the resolutions are not implemented, the trust gap has not been breached.
They didn't say there will be no one day you won't have electricity. For any reason, you may have a fault on your feeder and it has to be resolved. But it's saying that cumulatively in 1 month, you must have about that.
Stakeholders in the generation and distribution of electricity in the Southwest indicated that reflective tariff is a newly inaugurated plan that is subject to change in Ibadan. Rofia Animashan Badmos, NTA News.
Meanwhile, stakeholders in the timber industry have appealed to the federal government to implement policies for the protection of forests to avoid the extinction of economic trees and animals. They made the plea against the background of indiscriminate abuse plaguing forest enclaves in the country. Here is the report. Issues affecting the management of forests in Nigeria has continued to be a source of concern as it affects sufficiency in forest product supply, leading to extinction of some tree species as well as animals, with total disregard for its futuristic implications. According to the Timber Contractors Association in Ile-Ife zone, several efforts put into fighting the illegal activities of some individuals destroying the Shasha Forest Reserve have been met with opposition. The association therefore called on government at all levels to be more decisive in implementing policies and laws regulating activities in Shasha Reserve.
Encroachment by illegal farmers. They've taken over all the forest area. It has been difficult for the licensing contractor who are permitted to work in that forest to do their work freely.
What is happening in Shasha Forest itself is even making reasonable people to be weeping. That forest is forest and not for any other things.
If the wanton destruction of Shasha Forest Reserve is allowed to continue, the question is, what does the future hold for this nature's blessing to humanity? And that's it from Ibadan. Nationwide continues in Abuja. Good afternoon.
Very well, Kemi. And moving on here, the government of Bauchi State has again distributed 154 commercial buses and 655 tricycles in the second phase of the Kaura Economic Empowerment Program, KEP. Mahmoud Ibn Muhammad reports that the state government had distributed 345 tricycles in the first phase of the program in August.
With this, the number of tricycles distributed under the Kaura Economic Empowerment Program KEP is now 1,000.
Today's distribution is in fulfillment of our promise to the people of both states to empower people who have a hand in bringing us to power. We also looked at the problem of COVID-19 and the need to enforce the NCDC protocol of social distancing, especially in the transportation sector.
Apart from providing jobs to a multitude of Bauchi State indigents, it is also expected to ease transportation problems in the state.
We want to build SMEs, build institutions, and that's why we took this money as a seed investment. I thank the federal government, the federal Minister of Finance, and of course the World Bank for this assistance.
With a payment period of 2 years, beneficiaries are to deposit 1,000 naira daily or 7,000 naira weekly at the state's own microfinance bank. In Bauchi, Mahmoud Ibn Muhammad, NTA News.
Time to take another break. Nationwide continues shortly.
Liar are to participate in the 3rd National Anti-Corruption Marathon billed for December 19, 2020 in Abuja. Addressing newsmen in Abuja, National Coordinator of the event, Jacob Onu, confirmed that a total distance of 21.03 kilometers will be covered by the participants, as winners will take home 1 million naira as prize.
If we do not kill corruption, corruption will kill us. Ours is to create more and more awareness on the danger of corruption to the existence of our citizens, especially the youth.
Meanwhile, recently elected President of Organization of Military Sports in Africa and Vice President of International Military Sports Council, Nigeria's Brigadier General Abdullahi Meikano has assumed office in Yaoundé, Cameroon amid a colorful inauguration ceremony. Recall that Brigadier General Meikano defeated 3 other contestants from Algeria, Kenya and Guinea-Conakry in a virtual election on October 7 to emerge victorious. Kenan Ima Abudike, NTA News.
Sports wraps Nationwide today. We thank you for watching. Do stand with us as we fight against rape and rapists. Good evening.